Ayo, what's up? What's crazy is that OBS wasn't picking up the mic, and I was like, what's going on, man? Sorry, but nonetheless, we're here. Got a headache. Jesus Christ, it's crazy. Another thing is that Carlos Alcaraz won, um, but he won due to retirement, and Yannick Sinner being not okay. I hope he gets better. Such a shame, though. It's such a shame. Such a shame. But what can you say, man? My head is busting me up, and I thought to myself, for this, I was watching this video of how to setting up prettier and installing the tailwind and etc. etc. And I was like, and I was like thinking of stuff I could have done, I would have done, and then I was like, I was thinking about the CMS because my to do is long. I really wanted to do payload CMS, but now the problem with payload CMS is that there's like you have to have MongoDB. I don't know. It's like for users in your collection. It means now my blog. I don't know if my blog is gonna be saved here or my blog is gonna be saved on the DB, which is crazy. There's probably today's like the last day. Oh, and regarding this guy is using for the moving objects things. There's actually um can I just do this first? Wait, there are my likes, my stars. There's a project. This is the project that is being used. So this project right here, yes, for having my background, having these particles, but now my problem is I don't know if I could substitute these particles with anything which is SVG, any icons and stuff like that. So I'd have to tinker with it a bit and read up the documentation and see if this is possible. But nonetheless, I was like, this one is probably the last thing I'll do. RSS is probably like all of the questions. I was like, also saw this thing called sitemap. I didn't know what a sitemap is. I still don't know, but I was gonna read up on it. So with the CMS, I chose FrontMesa, but for now, let's just install prettier. Can be some good. I can check out. My head is busting, man. Prettier. So this is. Okay, cool. Prettier is installed. Should have an RC file. Okay, yes. I'm just gonna do this. It's gonna have an RC file. Prettier.rc, then prettier.getIgnore. Create a prettier file to let the prettier which files to not format as an example. No artifacts build coverage. Prettier will follow rules specified in the getIgnore if it exists in the same directory. So it's gonna do this. If a project is ready to form, isn't ready to. Oh, okay. Let me just edit for now. Um, PDF. Save, format and save. Yes. It's okay. Prettier. I think I have it installed. Yes. Okay. Formatting from the keyboard line is a good way to get started, but with another thing is yes, the whole thing of this prettier thing was to get this. Prettier thing, okay. Prettier is installed. Sensor on bizarre. Yeah, one package is installed. Yes, it has to be this. And then my RC file. And my RC. Mm, I have an issue. Hey, man. CSS. Hmm. Let's go. No, duplicate. Where's the other one? Okay. You know, okay. I want to see something. Now let's go to any layout. This is MPX pre as well. Mm, right, that source, layout, post. Mm, mm. Yes, what's the changes? Crazy. Sticky top is a side sticky top for. Come on. What else? Let's see. Mm. man. Let's watch the video.
In a project, you may have had these sort of discussions with your team or worry about for you and your team. Whole idea is to stop debating many other editors. JSON. And this gives you a way to pass options if you need, but it also indicates that the project is using prettier. There's multiple ways to run prettier, and I'll start by X prettier, and I want to do a simple check, so I'll use the -- check flag, and I want to check the index.html file. All right, so let's run this check. And looks like everything's formatted properly. Let me change that. So I will go in here and mess up the indentation, and maybe let's take the href tag and put it down here. And I will run the same check once again. All right, so now you can see that we have a code style issue found in the index.html file. The check only checks for issues. It doesn't replace the file. If you want to replace the file and overwrite it, you can do so with the -- write flag. And once again, index.html. And that's just for this file, but I could do src for everything inside an src folder if I had one, or I can do period, which is the entire project. So this time when I run this command, it will rewrite the HTML file with the proper formatting. And here we go. That's one way of running prettier, and you can use that to set up a formatting step before you commit some code in what's called a pre-commit hook. But what I prefer to do is to format every time I save a file. I'll show you now how to set up prettier to format on save. What I'm going to show you now is specific to VS Code, but you'll be able to do something similar in your editor of choice. The first thing I'll do is open the extensions panel here, computer, but this is what you want for format. And you can see our default formatter is set to use.
Okay.
Prettier, which is good. And down here we have this format on save option, which is checked in. So in case this checkbox is not checked, you want to check that to format and save. Okay, let's try this out. I will intentionally mess up my file with some weird indentation and some line breaks and spaces like that. And when I press save, boom, everything falls into place perfectly. Great, we all set on.
Okay. Oh yes, the the class sticky moved. Crazy. Let's see. Let's see. Okay.
On the prettier
Okay.
side of things, and it's time to bring along the Tailwind CSS plugin. -d prettier plugin Tailwind CSS. Okay, so now we have both Prettier itself and Prettier plugin Tailwind CSS in our dev dependencies, and it's important that they are in the same node modules folder for things to work properly. This plugin follows Prettier's auto-loading convention, so as long as you've got Prettier set up in your project, it'll start working automatically as soon as you install it. Okay, we're back in our HTML file, and I'll collapse the head tag so we have a minimal as soon as you install it. Okay, we're back in our HTML file, and I'll collapse the head tag so we have a minimal setup. And let's try out the Tailwind CSS plugin. So the surface area that this plugin covers is scoped to the class attributes in your templates. And this is where it's going to look for Tailwind classes and sort them out. Let me just paste a few Tailwind utilities and watch what happens to this list of classes when I save my file. 3, 2, 1... We can see that the plugin is working because our Tailwind classes have been sorted for us automatically. So what's the reasoning and mechanism behind this specific sorting order? Let's talk about that. Specific sorts have been sorted for us automatically. So what's the reasoning and mechanism behind this specific sorting order? Let's talk about that. At its core, all this plugin does is sort your classes in the same way that Tailwind sorts them in your CSS. Classes in the base layer will be sorted first, followed by the classes. So when I save, the container class should jump first. And here we go. Same deal within the utility, and therefore in the CSS output, pt-2 comes after p-4, so when I save, it will switch the order. Something very important to note, changing the order of the classes in your HTML doesn't affect the generated styles in any way. It's the source order of the generated CSS that matters, not the order in which the classes appear in your HTML. In other words, this class sorting thing is not here to avoid bugs and issues, but purely for organization and consistency reasons. In general, the order in which the different utility classes are sorted tries to put the high-impact classes first. It then pushes the decorative, low-impact classes at the end. The approach is also loosely based on the box model, starting from the outside in. Let's take a look at this example. I have margin utilities, border utilities, padding utilities, and I will now save this file to sort the classes. And you can see the margin utility affecting the outside is placed first. Then we have utilities that affect the layout like display flex and height. Then we have the border utilities, and you can see the border color, although a decoration is grouped with the border width because it makes sense. Then we have the padding, and then we have the decorative low impact classes, so to speak, like text gray and shadow. The plugin will group modifiers and place them after the plain utilities. The first class here is a hover modifier, and there's another one here. And when I save, the modifiers have been placed at the end of the list. Same deal with responsive modifiers. They will be grouped together and then placed at the end of the list in the order of the breakpoints in your theme. And we have the plain utilities first, followed by the small breakpoint utilities grouped together, and then the large breakpoint at the end. If I keep our previous example and add a class that does not come from Tailwind, like my custom class, and this is not something you generate with Tailwind, but a class that targets, let's say, your third-party library, the plugin will place those classes right at the start of the list, so it's clear what element uses them. So let me save, and there it is, right at the start. That's the Prettier plugin for Tailwind CSS in a nutshell. By design, there is no way to customize the sort order. The plugin has strongly held opinions on that. After all, the biggest benefit of using this plugin is to make these decisions for you so you can stop debating and arguing with your team. I thought it would be interesting to show you how to add the Prettier plugin to an existing Tailwind CSS project to get a real-life example of what the process looks like. Okay, so this is an existing Next.js project. It has a couple of pages, a couple of components, and this is a perfect candidate to try and add the Prettier plugin for Tailwind CSS. If I look in the package.json file, you can see we already using Prettier in this project, and so all I need to add is the Tailwind CSS plugin, npm install-d prettier plugin Tailwind CSS. Okay, so with the plugin installed, let's try to format our homepage here. 3, 2, 1. And there were definitely a few classes jumping around. Okay, our class name attributes have been modified. You can see on the H1 we had text for Excel and then small and medium text changes. And here, definitely, let's Tailwind CSS. Okay, so with the plugin installed, let's try to format our homepage here. 3, 2, 1. And there were definitely a few classes jumping around. Okay, our class name attributes have been modified. You can see on the H1 we had text for Excel and then small and medium text changes. And here they've been placed right at the end because the responsive modifiers come at the end. And if I scroll, there's a few more changes on this file. Okay, I'm happy with that, and I think I want to format all the templates on this project. If your project is very large, doing this manually could take a lot of time, but fortunately with Prettier we can bulk format all the files in our project at once, so let's try that. If I run a quick check, you can see we have 3 files that need formatting, and they all happen to be in the src folder. So I will run npx prettier, and this time we will -- write the files that needs to be updated in the src directory. And you can see in white
Bracket spacing. Hmm. Okay. Well, this is crazy. Everything is modified. What's the space? What's with the markdown? What's the change here? Okay. Didn't change anything. Okay. Mm. Image not found. Image not found. Then it crashed. Crazy. Nah, okay, we're done with the formatting issue. Okay, everything is right. Um, what else is there?
the 3 files that have been updated, and just like that, our project is now completely formatted with the class sorting treatment. All we really had to do is install the plugin and run prettier through the files. And now, class sorting is something I'll never have to worry about again for this project. Sweet! And that about wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Go let your team know that there's one less thing to worry about in your code base, and I'll see you again soon.
Hey there, and thank you for your interest in Front Matter. In this video, I want to highlight the getting started experience of what Front Matter is, how you can configure it, install it into your environment. So first of all, in order to get a good feeling of what Front Matter can actually do, I want to show you how you would do it with a normal static site generator on what is the experience without an actual CMS system when you're going to manage your static sites. So let us move over to our terminal. I chose to go for Astro. Astro these days is a really good static site generator or framework that you can use for content-driven websites. It comes out of the box with Markdown as your preference for content generation, so it's a perfect fit for working with Front Matter because Front Matter works and is intended to be used for these static site generators that are using Markdown. You can also use like the Svelte files or any other HTML files and so on, but basically most of the time you're going to use it in combination with Markdown. So what you can see here on the background is me typing in what Astro needs to know in order to generate myself a new project. Once a new project has been created, we can move over to Visual Studio Code in order to start managing our website and to start seeing what it actually looks like in the browser. So once it's finished, I'm going to run the Visual Studio Code dot command in order to open my current project, and then we can start. Now that we are in Visual Studio Code, we can actually see what Front Matter has created. So Front Matter created us a source folder with a content folder, and
What do you
now
mean
that we
front
are in
mentor?
run the Visual Studio Code dot command in order to open my current project, and then we can start. Now that we are in Visual Studio Code, we can actually see what Front Matter has created. So Front Matter created us a source folder with a content folder and a blog folder. In the blog folder, we can find the Markdown files. If we open, like for instance, the first post, at the top you will see what they call the front matter of your file. This is actually the metadata of your file. There you can specify the title, the description, the publish date, and for instance here as well, the hero image. This is fully configurable to your own needs. So it could be that for a blog article, these 4 metadata fields are present, but for another article, there will be even more. At the bottom, you will see the content of your file. And this is what we are probably going to render on the website in some sort of way. So if I run the server commands, then I can actually see what the website will look like. So I run the npm run dev command, I open my browser, and then in my browser I can see the actual blog template website from Astro. Now, when I go back over to Visual Studio Code and I want to create my own new article, typically what you have to do if you're not using any CMS is that you copy the file, one of the files that already exists, and you rename it and you start managing the front matter of that file in order to specify what the current file is going to be about. So in this case, I'm going to update the title, the description, and I'm going to update the content in order to verify that it's a new file in order to see the actual new file content. So if I go back to the website, I can actually see that the content got updated. Now, one more thing that I want to change is the image. So I can also change the hero image so that the hero image on the website has been updated. And in order to do that, I need to drag and drop in a new file into my public folder. Once it's in the public folder, I can start mapping that inside the front matter of that page. and then can view it on the website as well. So this is a typical experience of what you can expect of using a static site generator without any CMS. Now let's start talking about front matter. So originally front matter was created as a tool for myself in order to make it easier for me to manage the metadata of my file, the front matter, when I moved away from WordPress over to Hugo. Over time, it became more and more like an actual CMS, and this is what it is today, a CMS within Visual Studio Code. So in order for you to start, you go to the extensions section of your Visual Studio Code client, and there you type in front matter. And from the moment you type that in, you will find two extensions. You will find a stable version and you will find a beta version. In this case, I'm just going to install the beta version. Once it is installed, you will have a new FM or front matter icon in your activity bar. When you open that panel, you will have the initialized projects. And then you will open a new dashboard, which is going through the initialization phase of front matter. What it will actually ask you is to initialize a project where a couple of files and folders will be created. And then you will need to specify where front matter is actually going to find your files and where it's going to create your files. So in this case, for Astro, the blog template, it will be the blog folder. In your case, it could be another folder or it could be many different folders. Once everything is done, we will be able to go to the dashboard where we can actually verify and see our content and where we can just open the content. This is what you can expect from a CMS system. So let us open the first file. So going back to the same file and then opening the front matter panel, you will notice a couple of new things like SEO status, where we can actually manage the SEO status of your current page. You have an actions panel, which provides you actions that you can perform on globally in front matter or on the current page. And you have the metadata section. Here you see that you're getting a message saying that something is wrong with the content type. And this is because front matter has an internal content type and you're using another type of content that isn't mapping with what we define in front matter. No problem at all. What we can do is create a new content type out of it or override the default one in this case. So whenever front matter is going to be overwritten, we can go over to the frontmatter.json file, and the frontmatter.json file is containing the whole setting of your website. So if you ever need to do another kind of configuration that you find on our website, you can just do that in frontmatter.json.
Okay.
So in frontmatter.json, there is a section for content types. And in content types, you will see that there's fields defined. The first field that is defined is a title, then the description, the publication date, and the hero image. We can do changes to it. So for instance, we can set the title to be a single line instead of a multi-line. And we can also update the hero image to be an image and to be a preview image. And from the moment you set it on a preview image to true, then we will be able to see that preview image inside the dashboard. So it's a little bit more visual to you. Once you changed your content type and you go back to the page, you can actually see that the changes and it's a little bit more visual to you. Once preview image inside the dashboard
Which the
type and
feels
you go
it
back
means
to
like
the page, you can actually see that the changes have been applied to the metadata inside the panel of the actual content type that you just changed. So now you can do changes to it and it applies immediately to your current page. Best feature of all is that we have a way to automatically create new content based on this new content type. So you don't have to just copy and paste any file anymore. No, you go to the dashboard and you click on the create content. It will ask you to create a new title, and from the moment you inserted the title, you can see that the new content has been created with the front matter section already in place. Great thing is that you can now go over to the panel section and you can start writing, like for instance a new description, and it's also SEO aware. So for instance, if I'm going to write a really long title and that goes over a limit of 60 characters, it will warn me that this is not good for SEO reasons. So it's better to stick lower than 60 characters. So I can just remove them. Once you remove it, the warning goes away. Another feature that we have here is keywords. So in order for having a good article, you will have to use the right keyword. And we can check the keyword, how it's being used inside your content, like the title, the description, in links, and so on. So you get a good analysis of, is it a good article for SEO purposes? Now, one of the best features that I find myself is the way how we handle media files and how we can insert them in your content. So remember from before, we had to copy the title of our image and then apply in the metadata of your content. Now you just have to click on a button, add an image, and you can see the media dashboard, select the item you want, and the moment you add that, it will automatically be inserted inside your content. That way, you don't have to remember the file name, you don't have to remember the path, everything will be done for you.
Okay.
So there's just a couple of things that I still want to highlight. One of them is that you can spin the local server straight from within Visual Studio Code if you go to the Action panel and then click on Start Server. From the moment everything started, you can go back to your browser as well. The second thing is, wouldn't it be cool that you can do the previews within Visual Studio Code so you never have to context switch to anywhere else than Visual Studio Code itself? That's great. Now, in order to do that, you can go back to Visual Studio Code and click on the Show Preview. Now, the Show Preview, as you will see over here, doesn't work automatically. You will need to configure it. And in order to do that, you go to the front metadata.json file, and there you will find a page folder section where you can add a new preview path. Once that has been configured, go back to your file again and click on the same button, and you will see that the preview started working. Once your preview is working, you can do changes to your local file, and then from the moment you save, you will see these changes inside the preview coming up as well. This is great. For me, I love this feature because then I will never have to leave Visual Studio Code, can write it, and the moment it's ready, I can just publish it over to my GitHub repository. The last one that I want to highlight is we have a couple of other dashboards, like the media dashboard. And the media dashboard is not only for inserting media files, it's also for managing the media files. Like you can edit their metadata, like the title, the caption, and so on. The moment you add this information, you can use the action straight from the top in the title bar, or you can also use our command to insert the media file. So if you click on the insert media file on the top, you will land on the media dashboard with all your media files in place. And there you can just click on the plus sign of the media file and it will be automatically inserted in your file with the title, caption, and path in place for your image. That way you don't have to remember what the right title is or what the right path is. It will already be there for you. So these were the first 10 minutes of what Front Matter actually is and how you can use it for your websites. I showed you how to install it, to configuring it for a basic site. There's even more to discover, but this was it for this video. I hope that you learned something from it and that you would like to give Front Matter a try. So if you do so, please comment below. That said, I hope we see each other next time in the next video. Bye-bye.
Okay, what a nice essay. But I'm tired. I wonder what's I was reading on this. I'm like, what's a sitemap, man? But I'll finish this tomorrow, man. And I think that concludes that concludes what the whole week of this project. So right now, what I'll be doing is from moving from now on, I'll be writing my first blog on how I what's this on how I built the site, and my second article will be about my my experience in my first ever hackathon. But that's for it, and probably I'll continue next week with the it's the my C sharp project, the resource booking. Yeah, but for now, it's chai, it's chai. Enjoy it because the site is done.